Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by a very special returning guest. She is a horror fan, scary movie enthusiast, dog mum, long-suffering companion to a horror podcast host, and you've been upgraded since the last time, Charley. You are my fiance. It's Charley Stanbury. Hello, full named you.
Thank you.
You
Hello.
just do a little royal wave. Very nice. How do you feel that you've been upgraded to fiance since last time?
Pretty good, isn't it?
It's pretty good. And it's probably going to be about a year until we get married, right?
Tie the knot.
Tie the balloon knot.
Yeah, exciting.
Are you excited?
Yeah.
Bloody hell, a bloody year to wait. Lots could change in a year.
It's true.
It's true. What have you been up to since the last time you were on the show? Probably about a whole year ago. Obviously, I've seen you a lot.
Yeah.
Last year, but a whole year ago was when we did an episode on Elvira.
Yes. At Forbidden Worlds, which is where we went to see Christine. So it's like exactly a year.
Yeah, exactly. Once a year. I think any more than that would be overdoing it with you on the show, right?
Probably, yeah. Just everyone would be calling for me to be a permanent host, I think. So.
A permanent fixture of the show. I probably should say that Andy's not here this week. Just before we think he's just being quiet, sulking. He's jet setting. He's off for work based for work reasons, which is fine. We'll let him off. But yeah, we saw a film. We saw a few horror films. Went to Forbidden Worlds Film Festival. Again, we'll obviously talk about that in the what we've been watching section of the film. Of the show, sorry. But yeah, back on the IMAX screen in the Bristol Aquarium.
Mm-hmm.
They got to call it something else, haven't they? They've got to go, this screen is something else. The more and more we call it the Bristol Aquarium, it's like, what bloody fish knocking about as well.
It is pretty odd. Like, when I said to people that's where I was going to watch some horror films, it does sound a bit silly. Like, yeah, I'm just off to the aquarium now.
I was off the aquarium to watch a horror film that's been projected onto the back of a stingray's ass. Stingray's back.
Stingray's back, yeah.
Lovely weird.
But yeah, no, it's weird. Why did Bristol Aquarium have an IMAX?
I don't know. I guess they used to show like sort of nature films and stuff on the IMAX screen. I don't think it's ever been an official. I might be wrong, but I don't think it's ever been an official like IMAX cinema or anything like that. Like they haven't really shown films, but obviously now Forbidden Worlds and 20th Century Flicks have got the rights to show certain films there, which is good. It doesn't really feel very aquarium-like. Obviously, we're only in a certain section of it, but there's never any point where I go, oh, walking through the gift shop.
Yeah, you don't see any fish, do you, either? So,
didn't you?
Yeah. Don't think so. Did you?
I saw a couple of fish.
Did you?
No, I didn't. no, I didn't. I didn't. So I was thinking,
where?
Thinking of a joke. Can't be bothered. So yeah, I mean, it feels like it was a little bit bigger than last. I don't know, like bigger, not bigger, but like there was more stuff there. I guess obviously there was like a bar, food, couple of stools selling various things, so we'll talk about it obviously, but before that we should talk about horror news for the week. Anything in particular that you've seen this week?
I did actually just read about the like the Halloween rights for the TV.
I've written that down here.
Have you?
How have you got ahead of me like that?
That's Miramax have won it, isn't it?
Yeah, so like this week there was loads of talk about A24.
A24. Yeah, that's what I was hoping.
You say A24?
Yeah. Why do you say A24?
What's that band that's saying All the Small Things and I Miss You?
Blink 182.
Blink 182. Some people say Blink 182. Some people say Blink
182.
182.
The people who say Blink 182, there's a special place in hell for them.
In hell, just for mispronouncing the name of a band. Hell.
That's insane. Blink 182.
You'd be well annoyed if you went to hell and you were in hell with people who'd like committed genocide and various other things. Well, unfortunately, I said Blink 182, and Charley Stanbury decided that I should be in hell with all the nonces and war criminals.
Yeah.
What were you saying? A24, I say, and you said A20. You said A24.
A24.
Interesting. Maybe I think you should be in hell for saying that.
Maybe I'm right though.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd immediately double down and say, I'm right. Wrong. I'm big, you're small, and there's nothing you can do about it. The news seemed to break that A24 had won the rights, but then it came out that Miramax had scored the television rights after apparently a heated bidding war. I want more details about that, though. It just says heated bidding war. I want details about how heated.
Yeah.
Did anyone have someone else by the throat?
Yeah. Did they have those paddles? Were they like bidding?
Paddles.
Was there a man talking very fast, doing the whole like a cow auction? You know.
Okay. Are you comparing Michael Myers to bovine cattle?
Yeah. I am.
I do like that word, bovine. Any chance to say it? Speaking really fast, like what's his name? He should do the Grand National. John McCririck. That's McCririck. That's too confusing, that name. He was a knob, don't he? Yeah, so Miramax got the television rights to the hugely popular Halloween franchise. They've signed a wide-ranging deal to develop and co-produce a Halloween TV series, which also includes a first-look agreement on other television projects. Oh, what's that mean? Well, I'll have a first look at that. Can we include a first look bit of that? Just let me have a look. I'm just really nosy. A new chapter in the partnership on the Halloween franchise. So I guess Blumhouse has literally nothing to do with it anymore. But somebody has said, we couldn't be more excited to bring Halloween to television. What would you expect from a TV adaptation of Halloween, and what do you think it should be?
I definitely would like to maybe knock Michael Myers on the head and go for a Season of the Witch series.
Well, John Carpenter, what series, sorry?
A Season of the Witch.
Yeah, well, John Carpenter did want Season of the Witch to be like the start of a like anthology scenario, didn't he?
Yeah.
So it could be an anthology scenario. Knock Michael Myers on the head. Well, if this is canon, is it canon? Then, sorry, spoiler for Halloween Ends, but Michael Myers is bloody dog food, mate.
Yeah. Unless, like...
mulched.
I mean, obviously, I don't know what they're going to do, but if it's a continuation, maybe that other guy is now Michael Myers.
Nah.
Or they're going to go with or they could go with like, because obviously in the newest trilogy, it almost turned out to be like anyone could be Michael Myers. Michael Myers is merely an idea. If you feel like Michael Myers in your soul, then you can be. They almost tried to make him like it. Do you know what I mean? Like it takes the form of
it. He thinks he's it. This guy.
He thinks he's it. But you know what I mean? Like Pennywise the clown, and it becomes anything that you're scared of. It was almost like Michael Myers was like an essence
of evil.
Of pure evil. It'd be interesting, but obviously, like, to get any kind of interest, audience, anything like that, it's gonna have to be Michael Myers.
Well, yeah, because I can understand why the third movie you've decided to change it up a bit, because there's only been 2 movies before that essentially follow on directly from each other. So now that story's over, why not make a new story for part 3? I understand that, but now we've had 13 Halloween films in total, obviously including Season of the Witch. Michael Myers has been in 12 of them. So it's almost to the point where like it's established now that Michael Myers is Halloween. So stepping away from it now is in a way going to be an even bigger risk than doing it with part 3.
I mean, I liked the idea. Like, you know, the whole idea of like Season of the Witch being canon to the rest of it. And then it kind of turns out that the mask that he put on was one of the Silver Shamrock masks.
Wasn't that somebody came up with that as a pitch for something?
Yeah.
Was it? I can't remember.
It was on this though, wasn't it? That you were talking to. I'm sure it was someone you had on.
You're right, actually. You're right. It was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it was Kev Martin.
Yeah.
Video Store Kev, who we're having for a bonus episode very soon, talking about the last video store. But yeah, that was it.
Yeah. So
that
could kind of be potentially an interesting tie-in. So you could have a bit more background about how a bit of Stonehenge creates this weird magic. And then
though it's a bit mad because Season of the Witch isn't as mainstream. Obviously, amongst horror fans, is a big title, but amongst horror fans, amongst mainstream audiences, like I think they'd be confused, wouldn't they, if there's no Michael Myers. We are covering Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, for our Halloween special this year, which will arrive on Halloween. Look forward to that. But yeah, there we go. That's that. I mean, I'm always excited for more stuff because there's always a chance of it being good. It's just a bit confusing as to where it's going to go now. The fact it's gone for TV now instead of, I don't know. Am I going to care as much?
Maybe that comes off of the back of things like Chucky, the series, being like super successful. I mean, we've not seen it, but I know that a lot.
Just for yawning out of nowhere, then didn't mean to do that.
They do sing its praises and say that it's good. So
yeah,
maybe they feel like they can tell more of a story.
Yeah, interesting. Well, there we go. That was like the main piece of horror news. I guess I'm going to talk about a couple of events coming up, including the Women Make Horror short film showcase at the Watershed in Bristol, which we're attending tomorrow, or it will be today if you're listening to this podcast. The day it releases on the 18th of October. Sold out now.
Is it?
It is sold out, yeah. So
nice.
Bristol-based horror film writer-director Melanie Light hosting a night of short horror films directed by a selection of talented women from around the world. Yeah, so there's going to be 10 shorts, including from various directors: Daphne Gardner, Sam Fox, Tiffany Kimmel, Gigi Sal Guerrero. Not Sam Fox, as in famous.
Who's up to now?
Famous Page 3.
Page 3 model.
Is that mean? Just knowing her for that? What else does she do? Actress, musician. She used to sing, didn't she?
I think she used to sing. I just know she was. She hosted the Brit Awards that year. It got like super wild.
Wild or shit?
Yeah, no, wild. You know, like when Jarvis Cocker was kicking off.
Oh, right. Okay.
It was like that. Really, they banned drinking, didn't they, for a few years because everyone just got a bit
tanked right up and forgot that they were on national TV. Happens to the best of us. Yeah, so we're attending that. I guess I'll talk about that on next week's episode a little bit more. To be fair, at Fright Fest, like the short film showcases were some of the most enjoyable little sections, really, of the festival. So looking forward to that. And also, Soho Horror Film Festival has also announced its program for 2023. Again, including some things that we saw at Fright Fest, but some other sort of new films, UK premieres, world premieres, loads of stuff like that. It's taking place November 24th to the 26th in Brixton. Wait, yeah? Is Soho Brixton? Where is it? That's confusing. It's not in Soho? I don't know.
Maybe like I'd know, but...
Well, you did used to live in London. And I think it's also going to be online, like early December as well. So if you can attend the festival, I think there's going to be like an online version of it as well. Films like Halfway Home, Booger, Fixation, Hippo, Cannibal Mukbang. That sounds good, doesn't it? Baby Blue, Satan Wants You, The Coffee Table, Frogman. Sounds great. Okay. Only the Good Survive. Yeah, so loads of stuff to check out. And as always, UK-based film festivals, check it out. I'm not sure if we're going to be doing any coverage. Again, if it's going to be shown online, if we can't attend the actual festival at the end of November, maybe we can get involved and attend the online version and do some level of coverage.
Definitely up for Frogman.
You're definitely up for Frogman?
Frogman and Cannibal Mukbang.
You know what mukbang is?
Yeah.
What is it?
Like the thing where they like women predominantly, I guess, like do the eating.
Oh yeah, and people watch it online and get no satisfaction from it, but not sexual.
Yeah, it's kind of ASMR. Is that what's called?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you mukbang eat online?
I don't know. I guess like spaghetti or noodles would be satisfying, wouldn't it? Because of the slurpiness.
Satisfying for who? Satisfying for who? Whoever's watching. I mean, I don't think I'd enjoy that.
I mean, I would personally probably just sit and eat some cake or some chocolate.
Cake. Chocolate cake. Like what's his name? Brucey Bogtrotter. And then smash the plate over her head at the end.
Like, yeah.
That was always the bit that made me laugh the most, is when a teacher actually smashes a plate over his head. Right, yeah,
and that's what she does to teach him a lesson. Eat this cake. I'd love that as a kid. I'd be like, yeah.
Reverse psychology, isn't it? But didn't work. He reversed the reverse psychology and went for it.
He Uno reversed her.
That used to make me feel a bit sick, to be fair. Him, like the horrible close-ups of his like breathing and his cake-stained fingers, and at one point where he like nearly passes out.
Yeah, like sticky fingers.
No, I'm not into it. That is it for horror news. Unless you've got anything else that you wanted to mention for this week.
No, I don't think so.
Don't think in silence on a podcast.
No, I don't think so. Obviously, the only things that have come out recently that I'd like to see is I'm quite keen to get on the Fall of the House of Usher. But
that's out now. It came out a lot sooner than I thought it was. I thought it was out at the end of October or something. But I suppose it's supposed to give people a chance to watch it before Halloween. I don't know how I feel about it with the what's his name? Mike Flanagan stuff. I'm a bit iffy. Although Midnight Mass was my favourite by far. I didn't watch Midnight Club.
I watched the first episode of it, but I just really couldn't. Just couldn't get into it.
First episode, but you had a guts full. This looks like it could be interesting. I'm sure we're gonna watch it. But
I mean, this I'm super excited for. Like we watched the trailer the other day, didn't we? And I was like pointing out like all the little bits because like I grew up reading Edgar Allan Poe. And then growing up watching like a lot of Vincent Price films, which are all Poe adaptations. So I'm quite well versed with the subject. So I'm quite excited to see how many of like the bits.
Yeah. Whereas I don't know, like I feel like I kind of like the cast and stuff. How do I feel about the cast always being used for new stuff? Don't know how I feel about that. I think sometimes it works. This one I'm a bit like, no, I guess you got Mark Hamill in it. Why not?
Yeah.
So next part of the show is what we've been watching. And luckily we've watched pretty much everything together in the same. So we went to Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, as we mentioned. Thank you to the organisers of that for inviting us along. We got to see some great films. There was loads of awesome like film fans there to watch, and some really interesting like introductions from filmmakers as well, which are really interesting. Some just video links, well not live video links, but videos, and some like people in person, which was good. I went the first day, and you came and joined me for the second day. On the first day, I saw the director's cut of the film Mimic, directed by Guillermo del Toro. He did a little intro as well. Talking about how for the director's cut, he removed some stuff and he added in some other bits. And this was a film that I'd seen a few times, like when I was young, and I guess before I even knew Guillermo del Toro was. My last review, I checked, and I watched it in like 2018, and I was like, it's all right, but the CGI looks a bit naff. And you think that watching it on a much bigger screen would make the CGI look even worse, I guess. But I don't know. I was a lot more into it this time around. Again, watching things on a big screen sometimes helps. Watching an audience sometimes helps. And I don't know, when you get an introduction from the director as well, he's telling you about the film and his vision and everything. It kind of makes you want to appreciate everything a little bit more. And it's his first Hollywood movie. It's his first English language movie. and you can kind of see where he's had to rein in his tone of voice a little bit. Whereas obviously when he became a bit more successful with English language films, he could kind of just go wild. With this one, it felt like a bit more generic. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty spooky. It reminds me, it kind of fits into the same mold with me as like The Relic. You know,
Yeah, that's what I always. I think I used to get those a little bit confused.
Yeah, I think maybe I did the same as well. Yeah, it's that sort of thing with like some sort of creepy thing lurking in the shadows, lurking in the corridors of various places. Obviously, the Relic's in the museum. Mimic is mostly like underground, but still, I enjoyed it, and it made me appreciate it a little bit more. After that, I watched a movie called The Guardian, which was directed by William Friedkin, and the writer of The Guardian, Stephen Volk, was there to give us some interesting insight into the process of that. So I think another director was attached originally. And then he started like working with William Friedkin was a bit nuts. He called him Billy. I think he would change his mind a lot, or would like I think it was it sounded like a chaotic experience for him. And I don't think he ended up really liking the film, but I think it's got a bit of a cult following. It was based on a book called The Nanny. So it's like a nanny is stealing babies. I don't think that's a major spoiler, but nanny's stealing babies and like sacrificing them to something. And it's kind of mad. It's got like a few properly over the top moments of just like unbelievable gore, just like out of nowhere. I really liked it. It's definitely like one of those films where you go, this is subjectively a bad film, but I still like was entertained by it and enjoyed it, and it's got some good performances as well. It's a bit hammy, but apart from that, I enjoyed it. And then for day 2 with you, we watched Christine, obviously, which we're going to be talking about today, deep dive. And then we watched a film called The Hidden, which neither of us has seen before, had we?
No, I don't think I'd even heard of it. So
directed by John Shoulder, who directed Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. And starring Carl MacLachlan as a FBI agent pre-Twin Peaks. And it's more, I guess, less of a horror, more of like a sci-fi thriller in the vein of something like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like a sort of alien shape-shifty thing. And again, I don't think that's a spoiler. I really liked it.
Yeah, I liked it. It wasn't trying too hard. It was just a bit of fun, wasn't it? It was quite like one of those films that is just easy to watch. It doesn't expect too much from you.
Yeah.
So you don't really expect too much from it either. And I think the guy who introduced it, not the director, but like guy actually there talking about it, I think he said like it's a bit like
I think I might have said John Shoulder. It's Jack Shoulder. Did I say John or Jack?
I just can't remember. I just remembered Shoulder.
Mr. Shoulder.
Mr. Shoulder. The guy who introduced him kind of said it was almost like buddy cop / X-Files without Mulder and Scully. It definitely had quite a early X-Files kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely. Where it kind of had like a bit of a cold open, where like an X-Files episode would have established the rules, and then this, and again, it kind of was like a buddy cop, odd couple tracking down this sort of shape-shifting alien thing. It was good. I recommend it. I'd never seen it before. I don't even know if I'd heard of it before. I think I maybe heard the name, but I didn't really know much about it. But that was good. So that was it for Forbidden Worlds Film Festival, which was great because obviously seeing films on the big screen that probably you wouldn't get a chance to, classics and films you'd never seen before. So it was a great experience overall. So the big screen too. Hopefully I'll do the big screen part 3. Looking forward to that. And we also watched Pet Sematary Bloodlines. Pet Sematary prequel with David Duchovny. What's his name from Fall of the House of Usher and all the other Mike Flanagan stuff. E.T. himself. Yeah, but E.T. in this. They got the
Hang on a minute.
They got the bloody puppet out. They got the puppet out of storage, and they went, "Get yourself in Pet Sematary Bloodlines." I mean, this is like the story of Judd, who's obviously in Pet Sematary, as the stranger who
Oh, Fred Gwynne in there. Fred Gwynne?
Huh?
The actor is Fred Gwynne.
Oh, what, the guy who played
Dad in, the guy, Herman Munster.
Herman Munster, man, yeah. He's like, oh, I'm going to warn you about the Pet Cemetery, but also show you exactly how to use it, which sounds fair. What did you think of Pet Cemetery Bloodlines?
I mean, I would have preferred there to be a little bit more background of the actual Native American side of it.
There was a little bit of a flashback to like 16.
There was that little flashback where they came across the burial ground, I guess is what it was. And obviously there were Native American characters in it, and there was a little bit of chat about that. Obviously one of the characters makes like the masks, like the animal masks, I guess, that are supposed to ward off evil spirits. And it would have been it felt like there was a lot of opportunity to kind of go in a bit more depth about some of those things, and instead it was just kind of just glossed over, because it was like, oh, you already know about that. It's like, yeah, we know that they exist, but we don't know much about the other stuff.
It's kind of like another one of those prequels to like a popular film or a popular, I would say, franchise, but obviously it's got a sequel and it's got a remake, where it kind of like, here's a prequel, but it's kind of just like playing out exactly the same as the original, essentially. And obviously you've got a character, and it seemed to lean heavy, like there wasn't much pet stuff going on, was there? Not really. I know there was a dog.
There was a dog, wasn't there?
It just feels like a waste. Like David Duchovny kind of was just like very one note. Even had Pam Grier was in it, and she don't want much going on with her. Henry Thomas, E.T. himself was all right. A lot of the main characters were, a bit bland. It felt like nothing much happened. I can't even really remember what happened.
No, I saw on a Facebook horror group that I like to scroll on. Some people have been mentioning the film, and my favorite comment was, David Duchovny should be ashamed of himself, like, for being in it. And I just thought, it was proper laid into him. He must be short of money and work and all this. And I was like, give him a break.
He's not the kind of actor who seems to appear very much. Oh, actually, he was in The Craft Legacy as well. I was just going to say, he's not the kind of character who appears in like a lot of horror films, but he was in The Craft Legacy. Craft Legacy was all right, actually. I'm probably being a bit mean. But yeah, so a little bit weird that he was in that, because it wasn't like it was a super important character either, was it?
No.
Just man.
Yeah.
Man with son.
Man with son and dog.
Like, you could have really lent into the sort of
and
not having PTSD.
I don't want to give like a spoiler or anything, but like, so like the end, when the realization is of what's happening, he doesn't put up a fight at all. He doesn't go like, no, you're not harming my son. He's not like, no. Do you know what I mean? He just kind of goes, yeah. All right, let's go and do this.
I feel like, I said to you, I feel like it's starting. Like, I know we get like a sort of an intro scene, but it feels like it was starting, and loads of stuff had already happened that we were kind of not aware of.
Yeah.
So like the reasoning behind it, like we didn't really learn to understand the characters in that way. We didn't see a particular character before he was pet cemeteried. So why are we supposed to care now he's been pet cemeteried?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We don't know what he was like before, so he might have been a dick before.
Yeah. I mean, I guess they got around that by the female character being pet cemeteried.
Yeah, but even that was a bit naff. Even her, I just didn't particularly buy it when she was pet cemeteried. You know what I mean? Like, there's something about the characters in this film that when they are these undead, weird people, I don't find them particularly scary, or they're just a bit annoying, if anything.
Why
have they got superhuman strength?
This is what I was going to say. Why are they super strong? Like, where does that come from?
Because they're dead, like they can't feel pain, so they're just
full of adrenaline.
I don't know. I just feel like with prequels, and I feel like with horror prequels especially, rather than going, we're going to delve into this legend and try and find out some more interesting stuff about it, it kind of just rehashes the same old stuff. And in that sense, it's just a bit boring.
Yeah.
That was it.
It's not a prequel of how the Pet Cemetery exists. It's just more, it's an extension of the Pet Cemetery
exists. Yeah. And I've mentioned that before on this show, where I'm just like, horror prequels, I hate it when they're like, and here's the setup for the horror prequel. Once upon a time, there was this thing that existed as you know it does.
Yeah.
But here's what happened years ago when it existed. Like, I just find that a bit shit. Yeah, that's it. I don't think we've seen anything else that'd be worth mentioning.
I think so, no.
No, so then we move on to the main event, which is Christine, a 1983 American supernatural horror film directed by John Carpenter, starring Keith Gordon, John Stockwell, Alexandra Paul, Rupert Prosky, Harry Dean Stanton. It is based on Stephen King's 1983 novel of the same name. A nerdish boy, buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own, and his nature starts to change to reflect it. They just love each other. That's the truth, and it's a love story between a man and his car. So yeah, there was a bit of an introduction about this film as well. So we find out some stuff that I didn't necessarily know. So obviously, John Carpenter off the back of The Thing, which nobody had seen, and it was like critically panned, essentially, wasn't it?
Mad, isn't it?
This was like him. Yeah, this was like him getting back in the director's chair after that, and directing something that was obviously based on something that had been written by somebody else. So another heavyweight of the horror world. I don't think Stephen King liked it. Apparently, it was one of those. But then we've mentioned before he didn't really like The Shining, and I bet he likes Pet Sematary Bloodlines. Who knows? But yeah, so obviously that was interesting. A lot of changes were made based on the book. I think in the book there's sort of like a spirit or an undead spirit, like in the backseat, telling the main character to kill people and do stuff. And I think that they said that was a bit too similar to American Werewolf in London, which had come out like, was it 81? Well, it might have been earlier than that. So it was a bit too similar to that. So they vetoed that completely. And I don't know. I mean, I've not read the book of Christine. I've read lots of Stephen King books, but not Christine. And it did make me think I'd kind of want to check it out just to see what the difference is. But so I think this film was always a bit of a blind spot for me, John Carpenter wise. But we watched it in 2018 together.
Yeah.
For the first time, and I think then I was like, I like it, but it's not really like my favorite John Carpenter film. But I don't know, watching it this time, and again, watching it on a big screen, watching it with an audience, is usually a bit. Gives it a bit something extra. But I definitely enjoyed it this time. Yeah. You feel like that?
Definitely. Yeah. No, it was. As you say, there's definitely something about watching a film on a big screen, like not just your attention, because obviously you feel more obliged to give it all of your attention, don't you? But it's just the experience as well, isn't it? Like the sound is different, it just hits differently, I think. So yeah, it was.
And this was a restoration version, wasn't it? I don't think it's 4K. I think it might be 2K. I think there's a
40th anniversary edition.
40th anniversary version, which is going to be shown in some cinemas. I know they're doing stuff in the US. Saw some screenings advertised, so we were lucky enough to see this, like, I guess, fairly early on. From that. And yeah, it has become a bit of a cult classic as well. And I mean, the soundtrack's pretty great. I mean, I'm reading here that a remake from Sony Pictures and Blumhouse is in development.
Of course it is.
I don't know.
I wonder if they'll go for like the. Sorry, I'm just comfortable. I wonder if they'll go for the more of the book version. Because. Obviously they strayed away from it for a reason at the time, but it might be interesting to go back to that, because it sounded like, the guy who introduced it said that it was almost like past owners or a past owner of the car who might, like Chucky is inhabited by a serial killer or whatever, it could be done like that way. Like somebody died in that car who was evil, and his spirit lives on in the car, and it puts eggs on someone to be naughty. That might be a
eggs on someone to be naughty. Why don't you be naughty? Have you ever thought about being naughty?
No, be a bit.
It describes him here as a bespectacled, acne-ridden, nerdy teen.
It does make me right. So it made me laugh because this first scene you see him, he's like tripping into a puddle. He throws his sandwich into the puddle, and he's like a little bag of food that his mum's made. And he's got his little specky glasses on, but it's just one of those ones. It's like she's all over again, isn't it? Like,
yeah, well, you could. Well, I guess so.
Like, take off the glasses. He's no more unattractive than anybody else in that film. You've done the whole put these glasses on him, call him a dweeb.
Glasses on with like tape in the middle as well, like he'd broken them.
Yeah. But yeah, just that.
But yeah, I know what you mean.
Trope of glasses mean ugly. It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's even a bit in it where he says, "It's okay, I know I'm ugly."
It's okay, I know I'm absolutely just disgracefully disgusting. I know.
Face like a stuntman's knee.
Face like a stuntman's. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like the stuff about the car, kind of not really having much of a backstory, because obviously we see it at the start of the film in the factory, and it's already cursed or evil or sentient or whatever it is.
Someone's arm off, isn't it?
And then there's a big old section of time where we don't really know what happens, and we find out a little bit. Again, we find out about people dying around the car. So, but there's not. Yeah, there's not like any origin of the curse. It's not like the car has been built from some alloy or some metal that was once cursed by a witch doctor. Well, I don't know. So it's stupid like that. I don't know what the book.
I guess it's very open to interpretation in that sense. Maybe that's why they did it that way. They went, "Oh, we'll let people."
Oh yeah, that's a lot better though. Again, compared it to Pet Sematary, Bloodlines, because I feel like what we do is we find out more and more about the car as the characters do in this. So we know something's not quite right. We know what's going on, and we find out more as the characters interact with each other. Whereas something like Pet Sematary, Bloodlines expects us to already know all of the mythology without. And then it gets to a point where it's like, actually, we're just going to show you everything we know about it. And it's like, it's showing, not telling. Telling, not showing. Sorry, that's what I meant. And I think this film does really well to allow us to sort of understand. Because even by the end, I'm like, oh, I'm not 100% sure, like, what's going on or what the rules of that universe are. Whether that car can now put itself back together, because we do get a wonderful moment at the end. Similar to Inception, I guess, where the little spinning thing moves a little bit.
It was the end of X-Men film, wasn't there, when it was like the Magneto, it was like, did the chess piece move at the end?
Oh yeah, when he's supposed to not have his powers, and they're like, did you move that chess? You could have just blown on it.
Yeah, gust of wind.
Hang on a minute, are you Magneto again? Have you been magnetoed? Magnetoed. Okay, Christine, rating wise, has got 6.7 on IMDb, 69% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, 64% audience score, 3.5 on Letterboxd, and here are some choice reviews. Robin says, I think it's a great attest to John Carpenter being one of the greatest directors that he can make a story about a killer car and turn it into something beautiful. 5 stars. Doofenshmirtz says, this movie used the word shitter most than all of the Hollywood movies combined. It does.
That word doesn't even exist. Like,
yeah, I think Ty, when he did the intro for this film, he said, think every time you hear the word shitter, and it is a lot. People call each other shitters, people refer to themselves as shitters, people use it as an insult.
Yeah, you shitter.
Expletive in any way.
Like, I've never heard it in that context before. Like, I've heard it obviously in like,
I hear you, shitter.
Like calling the toilet that, or
maybe like John Carpenter that had been going through a phase where he'd been using it a lot, and he just, sometimes you use a word a lot, and because you use it a lot,
just assume everyone else does.
Everyone else is using it, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's 4.5 stars from Doofenshmirtz. Karts says, so he definitely fucked the car. No, 4 stars. Do you remember there was like some sort of some sort of documentary about someone who was maybe fucking a car?
I definitely, yeah, I think it's one of those like
Kiss in the car
ones, yeah.
One of those what?
You know, like Channel 4 went for a stage of doing like weird documentaries.
Fuck the car documentaries.
Yeah. Well, there was like one where it was like the guy in the car, the woman who married the Berlin Wall. I think a woman married a chandelier. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I understand that one. And then Jamel Bowie says, it's quite a long review, but I thought it was quite succinct, so I'm going to say it anyway. Surprisingly layered for a film about a killer car, it can be read as an indictment of consumer society and car culture. It can be read as a sly subversion of nostalgia porn, like Grease and American Graffiti, and it can be read as a blistering critique of toxic masculinity, of the ways in which the natural desire to grow into yourself as a man can warp and curdle into something destructive and ultimately fatal. 3.5 stars. But yeah, I thought I'd include that because it's quite a good review. Yeah, there's loads of stuff going on here. I think like it's interesting. It's an interesting film. Like film about a killer car. You're like, okay, I kind of know what to expect. It's bloody Brum, isn't it? It's the opposite. It's the opposite of Brum. Brum was a little do-gooding. I was a bit scared of Brum. His horrible eyes.
Yeah. Like Christine's a cross between Brum and Optimus Prime.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, definitely. Well, what can the evil side of him of Christine be? Like just like T-1000 as well, I guess. Like because the people it doesn't kill everyone and anyone. It's not like it kills
revenge almost, isn't it? Revenge.
It's like revenge, yeah. In the initial part of the film, it looks like it's killing anybody, but then we don't know anything about the backstory really. And after that, it's killing anyone who crosses Arnie or is going to get in the way of Arnie
and Arnie being together. Yeah. It's like jealousy. It becomes like a jealous.
But it's mad that like so much comes across from a car that doesn't speak, that doesn't really do all that much apart from just fuck people up.
It only plays 50s music.
And it only plays 50s. In a way, like it communicates via 50s music in the way that like Bumblebee from Transformers would.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, like Bumblebee's like, I don't know. I can't think of an example. I don't know. Scared and the Ghostbusters theme plays. This car seems to do that. 1950s. There's a 1958 Plymouth Fury. What did Ty say during the intro about the car being chosen as the Plymouth?
That they chose a car purposefully that hadn't been used before, because obviously
so it wasn't like an iconic car that everyone recognizes.
Like Mustangs have been used. I think it was like Smoking a Bandit was a Mustang, and like Bullet and all those kind of things that had classic muscle cars in. So they wanted one that hadn't been used, so you couldn't turn around and go, oh, it's just like the car from so and so.
It's just like Brum. Going back to Brum, sorry, Brum. He was a do-gooding little bastard, wasn't he? Like, what did he do? What did he used to do? Like, get someone's lost wallet back to them. Yeah, someone's lost their wallet and they're late for a job interview. I've got to drive all the way across town to get it back to them.
And didn't he live in like a creepy little garage, and it would be like all dark, and then like he would just kind of appear and his eyes would open.
I reckon there's a horror film to be told about Brum being possessed by the spirit of someone. He was out trying to do good things to make up for being a horrible little bastard in life. But then he just can't let the bad side of it. It used to do my head in a little bit, watching kids' TV like Brum and Bernard's Watch, where obviously me, being a little bastard, was like, do something a bit more interesting. Go on the rob or something. But no.
Go on the rob. Go on the rob, Bernard.
Go on the rob, Bernard. He's always saving someone from falling to their death on a ladder by dragging over a trampoline for him to land on. What I'd like to see is like a version of Bernard's Watch where he tries to do good but makes things worse.
Yeah.
Someone ends up breaking a neck because of Bernard. Did he like cheat on his homework or something? Or like stop so he
might have done, yeah. But I bet that had a repercussion now.
Yeah, I bet it did. What a bastard. Yeah. So in terms of the cast, we've got Keith Gordon playing Arnie Cunningham. It was Kevin Bacon, who was originally touted to be playing the lead role, isn't it? John
It's weird
Stockwell.
because, like, out of him and his character and then his friend, Kevin Bacon, for me, would have fitted better as the other character.
Yeah, possibly. I really like their friendship though, Arnie and Dennis, because they're two very different people, and they strike me as like they were probably friends when they were really young, and as they've got older, they've both grown into very different people. Their interests are very different, but somehow they've stayed really close friends. So like Dennis is like a football player. He's kind of confident. He's, I guess, good with the girls, and he kind of seems to have a rapport with a lot of people with like different friend groups within the school, whereas Arnie's obviously a bit of a classic nerd, bit of an outsider, but the fact that they've still got a good relationship, and there's not much that threatens that relationship massively apart from Christine. Like even when they seem to have the interest in the same girl, even then it doesn't affect.
Even then Dennis seems like, oh, well done, mate. Like, even though
he gets a bit distracted at one point, which ends up with him getting like a horrible injury, but apart from that, it's just Christine, and the fact that like Dennis has got his back throughout all of this, trying to help him not get Christined. Alexandra Paul is Lee Cabot, who's like a new student and becomes quite like a key couple of Home Alone faces in this. Robert's Scott Blossom is George LeBay, who's the man who sells the car, Christine, to Arnie, and he plays Old Man Marley in Home Alone. Obviously quite a few years before Home Alone, but he looks exactly the same age. He looks like he just reached the age of really old man and just stayed there. Or maybe he's been incredibly old his whole life. Maybe he's hundreds of years old and we don't know. And then the guy who owns the garage, Darnell, Robert Prosky, who is in, I was going to say Home Alone, but it's not Home Alone, it's Mrs. Doubtfire. He's like the boss, Jonathan Lundy, who ends up interviewing Robin Williams when he's like back and forth. Of course,
yeah.
He's also in Gremlins 2 as Grandpa Fred. Yeah, I was going to say he's in Home Alone, but no, I meant Mrs. Doubtfire. And Harry Dean Stanton, of course, rest in peace, Harry Dean Stanton, legendary actor who plays like a police detective.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
What do you know him from?
He's an alien.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. And well, he's in like loads of gangster films.
I know he's in loads of things, but the only thing I can ever remember
Green Mile, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
No, Pretty in Pink, which is
Twin Peaks,
really random.
Twin Peaks, Fire Walk with Me is in.
Oh, okay.
Escape from New York. So obviously,
that's what I mean. He's in loads, isn't he? But I just remember him. And
yeah, so he'd worked with John Carpenter before, but yeah, like a great cast. And even though the main actor is, I guess, relatively unknown. I mean, what else has he been in?
I don't know. I really didn't recognize him.
He's still really good. With both sides that he needs to portray, which is like the nerdy, quiet guy, and then I guess a bit more evil, a bit evil in his Michael Jackson jacket.
Yeah.
Shamon. He's also in The Legend of Billie Jean a couple of years later, talking about Michael Jackson. Wow. Yeah, he wanted much more. So yeah, that is pretty much the cast. And it starts in the 50s, as Christine's being made in a garage, in a factory, sorry.
Did you notice that she was the only red car as well?
Oh, right. So what? Oh, you actually referred to Christine as a she as well. You've been Christined, basically. You love Christine.
But yeah, when it was going down the production line, all of the other Plymouth Furies were white or cream, and she was the only red one as well.
With the blood of someone.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Something. Who knows? But yeah, so there were a couple of incidents in this factory. The car slams its hood shut on a worker's hand, seemingly on purpose. And then a guy gets in the car. He's like loving it. He's turning the radio on, having a cigar in there. Maybe that's the reason, because doesn't he put some of his ash on the seat?
Yeah, he's flicking his
It's
cigar.
like a mad thing to do in a brand new car. But he flicks the ash and then he's found dead like a little while later.
Yeah.
So yeah, Christine, before she's even out of the factory, has got a kill count of 2. Oh, yeah, not a kill count. The other guy's just hurt his hand. And then we go forward to 1978, so like 20 odd years later. Nerdy high school senior Arnie Cunningham and his friend Dennis Gilder go to school, don't they? Pretty much. They go to school, and then it establishes the relationship between those two and like that what happens to them at school essentially. Like there's a new girl who's just started called Lee. One of the characters like, I'm in love with her, man. And she's like a bit, I don't know, what would you say, like reserved and kind of like aloof.
Yeah, I think she's trying to be one of those characters where she's like, oh, I'm not interested in any of those things. I just want to do well and
I just want to study.
And
yeah, but well, she is like that up until she sees Arnie in his Plymouth Fury, and she's like, I'm absolutely gagging for it, for him. No, she's not.
For him.
For him. But yeah, then there's some bullies as well, some like greaser. Greaser bullies. One of the guys like I recognized.
45-year-old man.
I mean, this is unbelievable. Buddy. Is it Buddy?
Yeah.
Buddy. This is mad. Like we've mentioned this on the podcast before as well. Like in 80s movies, high schoolers, of course, like with Greece, some people in Greece were maybe they looked older than they actually were, but it was ridiculous. Buddy with his sideburns and his just like wallet on a chain. He looks ancient. Like if there was a kid
like the same age as the adults in the film, like the parents.
Oh hell yeah! I feel like if you imagine him in a different outfit, imagine him with like I don't know, slick back hair and a suit. You can easily be anyone else in the film who's not in high school. No one would go, hang on a minute, he's a bit young for that. And the other bullies, you got like another one, a fat bully, you would say. I'm only saying that a fat bully is because I feel like 80s bullies fall into a certain realm of there's certain categories for them. You usually got like the heavy metal kid, who's a bully, a fat bully, a bit of a dweeby bully who's like just going along with it. And I recognize this guy, the third bully. He's in the start of Ghostbusters when they do the little card trick. You know when Venkman's doing the
you
card where you get shocked. I'm pretty tired of this, man. Yeah. He was one of them as well, which I enjoyed. So yeah, 3 bullies. They're like having a go at Arnie, ruining his lunch, and then one of them pulls a knife. Out of order, really, isn't it?
He's pretty out of order, yeah.
Come fight me. I can't. You got a knife. Well, that's all right. And obviously he denies it. He gets in trouble with the teacher. The teacher's like, wait for me in the office. And then they're like, we're going to kill you. We're going to get you. We're going to get you. I'm mad at you for grassing me up, even though I threatened you with a knife. That's fair.
That is fair.
Well, yeah, I guess at this point
snitches get stitches.
Snitches get stitches. I feel like I'd grass them out there, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah, a knife is something else, isn't it? Like that's. And he's a 40-year-old man with a knife. So.
And he's a 40-year-old man in high school. How many years has he been kept behind?
Yeah, like he's obviously not of sound mind, maybe.
No, his mind's in the bin. He's got incredibly tight jeans on as well, right?
Yeah, I mean,
brown jeans.
A minute ago when you said about the review that said about it kind of being a bit of a throwback to kind of like Grease and American Graffiti, like he literally was a poor man's John Travolta, wasn't he? Like,
yeah. He
kind of looked a bit like him, and then there was a scene specifically where he
got chills.
He stood on the bonnet of the car, and the other bullies are there, and I expected them to just break out and start singing Grease Lightning. Like it, it just felt too much of a
too much. But I guess this does well to establish Dennis's and Arnold's relationship. Like, despite the fact that they move in different circles and they're doing very different things at high school. Dennis has always essentially got his back, even if he could possibly get shanked because of it.
Yeah, because it's Dennis who ultimately dobs him in, isn't it, originally? He's like, he's got a knife.
Yeah, he's got a knife, and I thought Arnold was going to go. No, he hasn't. But
yeah, I thought that as well. I was like, oh, here we go. He's going to go. Oh no, I didn't see him.
But he pulled it out of his ass, didn't he? Yeah, and Arnold lives in a household where his parents are quite overbearing, like controlling, kind of want him to be everywhere at a certain time. They seem to control like, every element of his life, even the fact that he's having a bit of yogurt for his lunch. Put it in the fridge, it's got yogurt in it. And Arnie is starting to just, for the first time, rebel against that. Not like in a horrible way, but like, I'll spend my money on what I want. I'll come home when I want. I'm old enough now. Yeah, and then when they're driving home one day, they go past like a rundown house and a rundown garden, like a yard, and then he spots the Plymouth Fury, and it's in a bad way, isn't it?
Absolutely battered.
I can't even begin to imagine like how you would. I mean, you'd have to be like an expert to get that back up and running, surely.
Yeah, and have a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I guess it does kind of explain that in a good way, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely ruined, isn't it? But it's like, it's one of those love at first sight moments, isn't it? You know, like in films when someone's like, oh my God, look at that. Everyone's just like, what are you on about? Like he's, oh, what are you on about? Like, don't you know, like, oh, he's got a bad reputation, like that. It was almost playing into that trope of nothing could tell him any different. Like his best mate was going, that's a pile of crap. And he's going, nah, there's potential.
Yeah.
And he hadn't even got in the car or spent any time with it. So it was.
Yeah. Like, has it got like some sort of aura that draws people in as well?
Yeah.
So obviously the old man Marley from Home Alone comes out, not with a shovel, with like, he had like a suicide vest or something initially. I was like, what's going on here?
He did have some weird like straight jacket on, like loads of straps, didn't he? Like, yeah, it was pretty strange.
So that's supposed to show he's a bit of a nutter, but yeah, he's the brother of the recently deceased original owner, and he basically tells them that the car's name's Christine, and Dennis is like trying to talk Arnie out of it essentially, but he purchases the car for $250. Yeah, and he's kind of like, even if 200, just name the price, because 250, no matter what you name, it's not enough. I'm like, that's not very good bargaining.
No. And I think that they used that really well to show like his naivety as well, because he obviously says how much, because it won't be enough, and then the guy says 250, and because he says 300 before, doesn't he? And then he says 250, and then Arnie goes, oh, so what did we say, 300? And it's Dennis who steps and goes, no, we said 250. Like he's that naive and that kind of much of a nice guy that
he's just like completely like, he wants the car so bad that like
and he doesn't want to like tread on any toes, does he? So he's kind of like, oh yeah, we said 300.
He knew about the make and model or something, and he was going to be like, this is a classic, and he does kind of mention that a little bit.
Yeah. I think he knows that it's.
He says it's an antique.
Yeah.
But yeah, his parents are unhappy. They're like, you can't keep the car here, you twat. And I think they even say, Dennis, why are you trying to talk him out of it?
Yeah, he got in trouble, didn't he?
He got in trouble while
his mum's like, well, you obviously didn't try hard enough.
While he was having a lovely glass of milk as well.
Oh yeah, and he's like, thanks for the milk.
Thanks for the milk, my bones, and thank you as well. So yeah, he can't keep the car at their house, so Arnie takes Christine to like a local garage / junkyard.
Yeah, it was like, what did it call? It had like a sign.
It was like DIY.
DIY.
It was almost like a place for people to like store their cars and fix up their cars and use the tools and spare parts available.
It's like you rent the space to be able to do that rather than pay someone else to do it.
I wonder if that's like a common thing. I mean, it was years ago. Yeah. So yeah, he goes there and he meets the owner, Will Darnell, who's like a bit of a nutter. He's got a lovely like waistcoat and shirt on, but like he's a greasy. I say greasy, garage greasy, not like anything else. Do you know what I mean? He just looks a bit dirty.
Yeah,
and
he's got like some buddies around playing poker in the corner.
Buddies around playing poker, and he sets out the ground rules: no smoking, none of this, no mucking about, all that stuff. And then essentially, what Arnie's going to do is rent the space, use the spare parts and stuff to rebuild parts. So we'll restore Christine to her former glory. And then we kind of see, as time goes on, it's kind of a bit of a, like, time kind of is sped up. We're seeing, it's almost like a montage of him raiding the junk pile for various bits and bobs to fix the car up. And he has a conversation with Darnell at one point. Who's kind of like, okay, you're basically using all my spare parts to fix your car up. Maybe you could do some work around the place,
change the loo rolls,
change the bloody loo rolls. And maybe I'll even throw you some money as well. He kind of obviously sees that Arnie's a good kid and he wants to give something back to him, or like, yeah. And then Arnie says, "Oh, I'll think about it."
He goes, like, "Oh, I'm gonna have to think about that.
I have to think about that. I'm doing you a favour, you twat."
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting. As time goes on, we slowly start to see Christine getting better and better, to the point where you're like, Jesus Christ, that part is exactly the same as like how well has he found that?
Yeah.
Where's he pulled that out of his arse?
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess he becomes a bit distant now. Like, Dennis says a couple of times that he hasn't seen him.
In the hospital, isn't he? So he's not there to kind of help rein him in.
Doesn't happen yet. He's in hospital after the accident. A little bit later, sorry. Yeah. So around about this point, he says he hasn't seen Arnie very much. His parents said he haven't seen him very much, and this is when Dennis tries to ask out Lee, who's a new student. He goes up to her in the library and sort of says, do you like dancing? You want to come out for a little dance with me? And she's like, I'd rather die. No, she doesn't say that, but she's not into it.
I got plans.
It's just got a date. Now, at this point, we don't know what it means by that or anything like that. Over time, Arnie, it says here, Arnie's personality becomes cockier and affects his relationships. But like, I think in these early stages, it doesn't happen so much.
I think he's quite cocky towards his mum and dad, though, isn't he? Like, I think there's a couple of bits where he's a bit mouthy back at them.
Yeah.
They're not used to that at all, are they? So
yeah. I can't remember exactly why, but Dennis goes back to the cellar guy at one point to find out a bit more about Christine, and that his late brother was obsessed with Christine. His 5-year-old niece choked to death in the car, and his sister-in-law Rita and then his brother both committed suicide in it. And Dennis is like, if Arnie knew that someone had died in that car, he wouldn't have
bought it. Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously there's something awry, but it's not like we don't find out. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, he committed suicide and now his ghost is haunting the car. We don't even get that, because obviously Christine's whatever the secret surrounding Christine's existence and why she does what she does is still not at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, not long after that is when the football game's happening. Arnie turns up in a completely done out Christine, like he's done it
brand new car.
It looks brand new, and he's with Lee, and they're having a little smooch by the car.
Yeah.
And Dennis sees it. He's like, "What? I don't know." He doesn't seem like disappointed or angry or anything like that. He's just distracted by it.
He's just probably like, "Whoa, what on earth?" Like,
what the flip?
That's one of the first things he says in the film to him, and he's like, "Oh, it's our last year of high school. We're gonna get you laid this year."
We're going to get you laid this year. He's like, I don't want to. Can't be bothered.
I don't want to.
So yeah, when he sees it, he gets like absolutely wiped out. Dennis does while he's distracted. He gets a severe injury, and when he's in hospital, he's like, I can never play football again. I think before that, we found out somebody had like a knee issue where he'd like been out of football for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah, but Arnie goes to visit him in hospital, and he's kind of asking like what. I think he's like asking about the car, asking about Lee, but he doesn't get many answers. And again, Arnie doesn't seem like that much of a dickhead at this point. He just seems distracted.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got like a little bit of confidence in him than before, but he's not.
Has he got his Michael Jackson jacket on at this point?
I don't think he's got that at that point, no. But
Jacko.
Yeah. Is it in this bit where he gets that, he drinks out of that cup and then he like puts it on Dennis's toe?
That's a really weird, specific moment that you've remembered. hang on a minute. I thought he was all right, but then he put a bloody drink on Dennis's toe, and now I think he's out of order. He's gone too far. He's off the rails.
I just found that really weird that he like drank and then just went bloop, and put it on his big toe.
Just having a laugh with him, wasn't he?
I was like, oh, I wouldn't like that if someone did that to me. I'd be like, why have you done that?
Well, he's just having a laugh with his mate.
But Dennis doesn't even flinch. He's just like perfectly normal to do that.
You don't care. You don't give a shit. So yeah, after that happens, Arnie and Lee are like, their relationship's developing. They go to a drive-in movie, where it's absolutely pissing down rain outside.
Like, yeah, you can't see the film.
And I think they're having words at this point about the fact that she thinks he likes Christine more than her. He spends more time with Christine, showing that there's a bit of jealousy between the car. I feel like if you were jealous of a car, I'd refuse to call it by its name. I wouldn't talk about it as if it were a person.
Yeah, I wouldn't go, oh, Ben.
Oh, Ben.
Oh, Ben.
I think Christine.
You spend far too much time with Christine. I just be like, you're an idiot. Stop sitting in your car talking to him.
I can't help it. And he gets out of the car for something. What did he go and grab something? I can't remember. Or maybe he gets out of the car in anger. I can't remember. But
when he goes to get her, because she ends up being like, I don't want to be in that car anymore. So she runs into the rain. He chases after her, convinces her, like, no, you're being silly. It's just a car. Come on, let's get back in the car.
And then again, the car. Christine locks him out, locks her in, and then she starts like choking on her food. And then what happens? Like the radio starts blaring, really bright lights come on. It's almost like
really bright lights inside the car, which is interesting because I don't think a 1958 car would have had like a light above it like they do now.
But yeah, manages to open the car, but then some random man, he was staring at him anyway. I feel like he was waiting for his opportunity to get his hands on Lee. It wasn't like...
He definitely does get his hands on her. There's a bit where he's like, Heimlich maneuver, is that what it's called?
The what?
Heimlich maneuver? Is that what it's called?
That's it, yeah.
He does that on her, but then is kind of quite an erotic bit where she's like heavy breathing and moaning, and the man's holding her chest.
Because even Arnie runs over like, get your hands off her, even though he's trying to save her life.
He's just a weird moment.
Trying to save her life, but also copping a feel at the same time.
And a cheeky handful.
Yeah. And then she's just basically like, I'll never want to get in that car ever again.
Yeah, and she's angry at Arnie, isn't she? She's like, oh, he saved my life. You just stood there and did nothing. And he's like, nah, Christine locked me out. And that sounds mad. Like, you would be...
Christine locked me out.
Christine locked me out, and you'd be like, okay, well, if that's the case, then Christine tried to kill me. Like, is that what are you agreeing with me? You're still going to take Christine's side, even though you've just said she locked me out. Fuming,
absolutely fuming. And there was a moment earlier as well, which obviously you've got to take note of, which is the bullies were talking about. Is that his car? And then someone said, yeah, I know where he keeps it. And we're like, automatically know that something bad's going to happen. And I don't know about you, but I mean, I don't think of Christine as a person, but when this happened, I did feel proper gutted. Like, when you see Arnie's reaction to what happens to Christine, you're like, oh, geez, that would be horrible.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It's not...
He put a lot of time and effort into that.
It's not... It's time and effort. It's like destroying someone's belongings feels really like really horrible, like in such a manner as well. And for what, for the fact that he stood up to these three bullies who were going to stab him?
Yeah.
You're going to stab me, are you? Well, I say, no, you're not going to stab me. And they're like, well, I say we got to get him back. So yeah, they sneak into the garage after.
Just before that bit as well, like when Arnie drops Lee home, there was like a horrible moment where he was trying to console her, wasn't there? And then he almost like grabs her and is all like, I can't remember what he says, but he basically insinuates that he wants to have sex with her. But he says it in a way that was so out of character, and it was almost a bit like, it was horrible. Do you know what?
Is that like the first instances of like?
Yeah, and it's almost like he almost forces himself on her a little bit and says something, and it was just completely out of the blue. I remember being a bit like, hang on a minute, I can't say that.
Come on, Arnie, turn it in.
Yeah.
So yeah, he drops off Christine at the garage, and then we see all of the the bullies run in, and yeah, they go to town on Christine, like smashing everything, puncturing everything, ripping up all the interiors.
Do a real nasty number on her, don't they?
Do a real nasty number on her, yeah. But yeah, and it's brutal, just super, like there's vandalizing the car, and there's like destroying it, like beyond repair. Like there's absolutely no way. I mean, that's a write-off. Like it's ridiculous. And essentially, Arnie and Lee meet up the next day, and he's like, "I'm just gonna go and grab my wallet." So from Christine. So even now, he's like, "I'm gonna try to appease Lee by not banging on about Christine and getting Christine involved." So we're just gonna go out. We're gonna walk. We're gonna get the bus. I don't know. But yeah, when they go in, he sees the destruction, and he is raging. And again, this anger,
genuinely upset, isn't he?
Genuinely upset, and this anger like comes out to Lee as well, and he's just like, "Get the fuck!" He said, "Get the fuck away from her," something.
Yeah,
Christine, like
don't you fucking touch her or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then did he do something to his dad at this point as well? Just like his dad says something about Christine, and he gives him a throttling.
Yeah. Oh yeah, because the dad says, "Oh, we've decided we're just going to buy you a brand new car, like a brand new one. You don't need this piece of
yeah."
And he's fuming.
So that's not the point. So this was the bit I was confused about. So I think I missed a couple of bits here, which was where he goes back to the garage and Christine is repaired.
Oh yeah. So what happened? Yeah, because you popped to the loo, didn't you?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
So what happened is she's all bashed up still, and then he says something to her, and like one of her tires starts to inflate.
Okay.
And he is obviously shocked and jumps straight to the conclusion that she's a magical car or something. And he just kind of stands back and goes, "All right, then show me what you've got." And then she just completely starts.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what he says as well. He goes, "Okay, show me what you got." And then she just starts like pumping and knocking out all the dents and stuff, and almost like just
essentially like, I wonder if they did that. I mean, I guess backwards, like
quite possibly.
When I kept thinking, I wonder how they did that.
Well, they said they had 17 cars, didn't they? So they probably had
they destroyed them all
in all different parts. Yeah.
And then we essentially get what is Christine going on vengeance, on a big old rampage. And I was confused because I thought, are you supposed to be in the car when all this happens? No.
This is the point I wanted to talk about. The windows
look blacked out, don't they?
Yeah, so it's all blacked out, and then obviously when Christine does do one of the murders, he is somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like he is, because he's
got an alibi.
The bloke's car. Yeah, he's got an alibi. So then it's been something that has been playing on my mind a little bit, actually. Like, was it just that one he wasn't there? Was he not there for all of them? Obviously,
well, he can't have been in there when Christine ended up on fire.
Well, yeah, no, exactly.
I feel like for at least the first couple of not the first couple of murders, but I think for these murders, the Buddy's gang murders, he's not there. He's not in the car. Because again, it looks like the windows are blacked out. You can't see in the windscreen.
Yeah.
So the first guy, the fat bully, sorry, fat bully, but I'm gonna have to call you fat bully. I can't think about how else I'm supposed to set you apart from everybody else. He gets dropped off by somebody, I guess, after working somewhere, and Christine starts like stalking him essentially. And initially he's like, "Oh, Cunningham, is that you? Piss off, Cunningham, leave me alone." But obviously after a while he gets genuinely a bit scared because Christine's like following him, and the way he manages to hide in this sort of like alcove, this like sort of garage alcove that Christine can't get through, but then Christine pushes all the way through, like ripping off the sides to get to him. And then later on we find out he's ripped in half as well. So I think around about this point is when Harry Dean Stanton, the cop, turns up, starts questioning Arnie. Obviously he just thinks Arnie's got revenge on these kids. He wants to kill them. He doesn't think for a second that there's a magic car killing people.
Yeah, but he does ask some weird questions. Like, he has jumped to a lot of conclusions.
Yeah.
because some of the stuff he was asking, like, oh, where did you get a car like this? Where did you get the parts? He was almost like naysaying that the car existed, even though the car was right in front of him. Like,
it's because he's like, I heard that the car was completely destroyed, and you've managed to pretty much fix it again days later. I don't know what he's trying to suggest here. Obviously, he doesn't think it's happened magically, but maybe he thinks he nicked a different car or something. I don't know.
Yeah, no, this is what I mean. That bit was a bit cagey in
Moochie, I think, one of the one who got killed.
Yeah.
Buddy's friend got killed. Yeah, and Arnie doesn't really do anything to get Harry Dean Stanton off his case, because he's like not answering many questions, getting a bit pissed off, and then he like revs his car to try and get Harry Dean Stanton to get out of the way. But yeah, and then Christine goes after all the other members of Buddy's gang. Well, two of them, Buddy and another one. First of all, just tailgating, being a right bastard, and then obviously Buddy loses his temper, drives into a garage, gets out, it's like, come on, man, fuck you up, man, or whatever. And Christine just goes ape shit, just drives into the gas station, climbs into the car, drives into him. There's a huge explosion at the gas station, killing everyone's on fire. And then Christine is chasing Buddy down. Christine's completely on fire. This is, to be fair, the cut from the big explosion at the gas station to then Christine on fire and Buddy running away is amazing. Like, it's funny.
Oh yeah, no, yeah.
Funny, but in like a ridiculous manner. And also, there's a lot of people running away from Christine who just run in a straight line, right?
Yes, there's a lot of people doing that. Like, oh, it's a car, and I'm gonna run just directly in front of it. I mean, yeah. I know you haven't probably seen it, but it reminded me of like that bit in that everyone ripped the piss out of in Game of Thrones, when there was like the Battle of the Bastards, and there was like one of the boys like running in a dead straight line, and loads of people like shooting arrows at him.
Yeah,
and, like, inevitable that he was, and people were just like, why didn't he zigzag? Why wasn't he dodging? Like, he was basically like,
I wasn't aware of that back then.
A straight line. So it seems to be a thing, doesn't it? But
yeah, it's a bit like Charlize Theron in Prometheus, when the ship starts rolling towards her and she runs in a straight line. Well, I think some people just panic in that situation anyway when you're trying to get away. But not so much in this one. This is ridiculous. And then it is a great shot when Christine on fire runs over Buddy, and then he's on fire, dead.
Yeah.
Which is great. Yeah. And then we see
back to the garage, didn't she? Like, smoking.
And I think like Darnell, the garage owner, thinks that like someone's stolen it and been on a joyride.
Yeah.
And he gets his shotgun ready to kill whoever gets out, but obviously no one gets out. Does he just sit in the car? I think he just sits in the car, even though it's like a smoldering wreck. Turns the radio on, and then does he just choke to death?
Yeah.
No, it kills him with the steering wheel. The seat comes forward.
Oh, that's it. The seat
comes all the way forward, and then like he's choked on the steering wheel. Yeah. And then the next day, police find the body. Christine's in perfect condition again. And this is where the police detective is really starting to suspect that Arnie's behind all of this. He's like, there's more dead bodies, like 3 dead bodies. Somebody said Christine was at the scene.
I don't know whether it was like a plot hole or whether it's just not meant to be taken. It's not like that deep. But obviously when they question him about the old guy in the car who's been crushed, he's obviously not crushed because the car's back to normal and he's just sat in it. But they say, oh, we found him in the car with a shotgun. And it was almost saying that he had shot himself.
Yeah.
But like, so how, he must have had a bullet hole for them to have come to that decision, because it's got, do you know what I mean? So did Christine shoot him?
I don't know, really. It's weird, isn't it? Because like, it seems like Christine is just like commits acts of violence using her person.
Exactly, like she physically is.
However, it did, like the cigar guy at the start, just randomly seemed to die, and obviously 2 people committed suicide in Christine as well. So it's almost like there's some sort of supernatural coercion going on. But obviously we don't see it so much in this. Yeah,
weird. But yeah, so he's getting questioned, isn't he? Because they're like, oh, well, and didn't someone say they saw Christine on fire or something, like someone,
something mad like that.
an eyewitness or something. So
I saw that car on fire.
Yeah. But yet again, Harry Dean Stanton's character is like, oh yeah, your car was on fire yesterday, now it's in perfect condition again. But he's just so blasé about it. Like, I think
But then you'd be like, if you saw that, you'd be like, well, it obviously wasn't this car then.
Yeah. Or I'd be
You wouldn't
getting
be like,
I'd be
well,
like,
maybe it was.
I'd just be getting angry. I'd be like, Arnie, what the fuck is going on?
But Arnie obviously had the other car, and
yeah, he had
his alibi like convinces the detective essentially. Now obviously Arnie and Lee's relationship has pretty much broken down because of Arnie's personality switch up. He's gone a bit angry, hasn't he? And essentially they get together and they make a plan. We're going to lure Christine to the garage, smash her up with a bulldozer.
This is Dennis, isn't it? Dennis and Lee.
Dennis, did I say that? Sorry, don't think I said
you just went to Dennis and Lee,
yeah, and obviously they have a meet up at Dennis's house, and then Arnie turns up seconds later, and this is when they have essentially like Arnie and Dennis have their like final conversation where Dennis is trying to get through to him, but Arnie's all the way gone, thinking about he talks about love, and then he thinks he's talking about Lee, but he's talking about Christine. You bloody love this car, don't you?
And he's got the crazy eyes as well now, hasn't he?
What, like behind you? He's got the crazy eyes.
Crazy eyes, like.
I got the crazy eyes. Yeah. So essentially, the plan looks like it's going to go ahead. They go to the garage, get the bulldozer set up. They're like, well, basically, as soon as Christine comes in,
they await Christine arriving.
As soon as Christine comes in, put the shutter down, and then I'll start it up, and then we'll fuck it up. But Christine's one step ahead of them.
Hiding.
How did Christine hide in a pile of scrap metal? How does that happen?
I know. And also, like, how did Arnie get in the car? Like, so he like took Christine there, covered her in loads of metal, and then crawled in through a little crack in the window, and just sat and waited.
Yeah, and now essentially it's like the battle. Dennis in the bulldozer versus Christine. Christine's like trying to get to Lee more than like trying to hurt Dennis, and like she's like hiding behind the bulldozer and that, and then it drives into like the office bit and smashes through that. Tries to run Lee down. When he crashed into the office, Arnie gets thrown through the windshield, like impaled on broken glass. And as he dies, rather than like reaching for Lee or anything like that, he just touches Christine's front grille.
Like strokes it with
this was an oddly sexual bit, isn't it? Because the front grille's got like a V on it, and he was very much going down the V. Like there was obviously a bit of symbolism or sexual imagery there.
Yes.
That's represented by this. As there's probably loads you could look into. Obviously, Arnie being like a virgin, as far as we know. And Christine has almost become like a replacement for any sort of potential romantic relationship. And even though he doesn't expressively say he's fucking the car, I bet if they remade this, we'd see him fucking the car.
Yeah. I don't know if we see him fucking the car, but there might be a lot more like seat caressing.
Oh, yeah.
And like, do you know, like with like the gear stick, maybe some.
Oh yeah. Phallic imagery of the gifts. Nice. So essentially Christine just continues to attack, like repairing itself over and over again, keeps using first aid kits, which is cheating. But then Dennis manages to like essentially like pin Christine down and like drive over.
Yeah. Like
flatten her with the bulldozer.
Yeah.
And then this is a good little cutaway, because obviously we could be like, well, now what? But then it just cuts away to a crushed up cube at the junkyard dropping from like a crane onto the ground.
And then the end bit when like all the way through the film, every time Christine's stalking someone or
of course,
there's like the 50s like music playing in the background, and then she appears, and then when the cube like drops, they're kind of like, oh phew, I'm so glad it's all over, and then you hear like a little bit of 50s music, and then it's just a bloke who works at the scrapyard with his boombox or whatever like that.
Boombox blasts out the 50s tunes. What a legend.
And they're like that. Oh, and then doesn't
And
more go, I've always hated 50s music.
I've always hated 50s music. But then the detective's there as well. And he's like, well done, guys, for stopping Christine. Shame that Arnie's dead. I'm like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
Where's he? What's he going to write in his report? He'll be laughed out of town if he says, haunted car kills teen.
But like, so if we're going on the theory that obviously Christine can just keep repairing herself.
Yeah.
She can only repair herself because she's touching herself, like the parts. I feel like crushing her together, she will still be able to build herself back together. What they needed to have done is completely take her apart.
Yeah, but even then, there might have been like a sort of Thor's hammer scenario where all the bits,
like all these metal pieces, like.
We don't. This is the thing. Like, I like it that we don't understand the source of her power. I like that. I like not knowing that and finding out, because then, in a way, like anything is possible.
Anything's possible, and it does open up a conversation about it, where people can share kind of like their thoughts, theories, and
opinions. Well, yeah, definitely.
And I really like that. I like that it's not.
And it's one of these films that feels like prime for a sequel, and the fact that we haven't got one, I think, is pretty amazing. Because I think it works completely well as a sort of standalone film. I am interested to read the book though, just to see what is different.
Yeah.
Yeah. There we go. That is Christine. We can play a little bit of name game before we rate the film, if you fancy that. You know the rules of name game, don't you?
I do.
Do you want me to go first? I know you've got one.
No, you go first.
You go first? Okay, well, I've got a few. So, obviously,
you do yours first.
Based on the synopsis, so is a boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own. That's the synopsis. But based on that, here are my versions of Name Game. And I apologize in advance for this. Okay, so a Norwegian boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own. And suddenly, his breath is ever so fresh every day.
Listerine.
Correct. Listerine. Other brands of mouthwash are, of course.
Nice.
Okay, I'll just do one more. A Norwegian boy buys a strange swimming pool with an evil mind of its own. And the swimming pool's French as well.
Piscine.
La piscine.
La piscine.
La piscine. That is French, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Does that kind of work?
I guess, yeah.
The swimming pool, I think La piscine means. The swimming pool. There we go. Do you want to do yours now? Have you got
mine? I apologise in advance for mine. And I can't take full credit. One of the lads at work came up with it because I was telling them about Name Game, and Christine, I was like, this is going to be quite hard. So, okay, a young boy buys a car, takes a mind of its own, and it becomes a wealthy entity with its own dodgy island.
Epstein. Dodgy island.
Dodgy island.
That island's well dodgy. I'd be like, I think it's beyond the point of that.
Yeah, Dodgy island. There we go.
Apparently Stephen Hawking went to Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Bloody hell. He probably didn't have a choice.
Jesus, I'm trying to say that disabled people have no choice in the matter.
I'm just saying that he couldn't maybe say no. It depends on what part of his life.
He's literally got, well, he had a method of communication.
But like some people might have gone, that don't count. I'm not saying that's what I think.
Sounds like you're saying. I'm not taking you. Anyway, moving on. Moving on from that. Okay. A Nordish boy buys a strange car with an evil mind of its own, but instead of playing 50s music, it plays a very dirty song featuring Redman.
Christina Aguilera.
Just Christine Aguilera, correct. You've got it. I've got two more for you. You're being absolutely treated to this.
Yeah.
A Nourish boy buys a strange car of an evil mind of its own, but when he buys it, it's not in bad condition. It's in absolutely perfect condition. Brand spanking new.
Pristine.
Pristine. Correct. Why are you so good at this? What's wrong with you? And finally, a Nourish boy buys a strange car of an evil mind of its own and drives it straight to his favourite chapel.
The Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, it didn't even let me finish. The Sistine Chapel. And if you remember, my dad watched a documentary about the Sistine Chapel, and he said to me, Ben, I watched a documentary last night about the 16th Chapel. And I went, what about number 15? They'll leave them out. Which was good, but because he didn't realize it was called the Sistine and not the 16th, the joke didn't land.
No.
Like most of my jokes, right? Right, we got to rate the movie. Rate good or rate bad. A to F. Pluses and minuses are available. How would you rate this, Charley?
Don't really know. Maybe like a B minus.
Okay.
Just because, as we have discussed, and also like that review that you read out at the beginning, it is a very multifaceted film. Like, you can kind of take away from it what you want. And I think just between me and you talking about it, as well, it's made me realize that it's almost like a very metaphor film, in the sense that it's very similar to like a rape revenge film, but like without it being that darker subject.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, obviously with like the boys smashing it up, and him finding it.
Oh, I see what you mean. So like,
you see what I mean? And it's kind of like fixes herself back up, and then she takes revenge on the people that did it to her. So it feels as if it's quite a kind of a feminist film, in a way. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, it makes it so much more than just a mad film about a car that kills people. It's a very heavy metaphor, I would say. So I think because of that, and I think because of a lot of those kind of messages, and it was well acted, and I like we've said, it doesn't spoon feed you all of the answers. It's left up to interpretation. I think for all those things, maybe just a B.
Yeah, I think I was going to go for a. I mean, it's an interesting take on it, really. I think it's one of those things where if you can think more and more about the subtext of it, you can unearth so many other things, which I think on the surface you don't necessarily think it is, because it is just a film about a killer car. But yeah, I'm probably going for like a B plus. I think the first time I watched it, I enjoyed it, but I was like, it's not one of my favorite John Carpenter films by any stretch. But I don't know. This time I really enjoyed it, and it's made me want to
read the book.
Read the book, definitely. Maybe find out more about the making of the film, and also some of the subtext that people think is in the film. I'm thinking of it as like a feminist film. It wasn't necessarily something that crossed my mind, but now you say it, like, if we're literally thinking of Christine as a character, then sure, there's loads of that going on. You could expect. Yeah, great soundtrack, great ending, and it's got like that signature John Carpenter flavor throughout, I think. Whereas he's definitely made some films where perhaps it's not as prevalent, but with this one, I definitely felt like I was watching a John Carpenter film. So yeah. B plus, I think. I think maybe the first time I watched it, I would have gone for like a B minus, but after watching it again and enjoying it more, I think a B plus.
Yeah.
There we go then. So that's Christine. Awesome. Find out more about the Forbidden Worlds Film Festival on forbiddenworldsfestival.co.uk. I'm not sure if that's 100% correct, but I'll put the link in the show notes anyway. If you're in Bristol, in and around Bristol, they do a couple of events a year. They do one event in like May, which is more sort of like genre films, not specifically horror. I think it covers loads of stuff. I think last time they did a lot of like a Ray Harryhausen movie, maybe like an Asian action film, like cult films. Yeah, that's what I meant. And then in October, of course, the big scream is more horror focused. But yeah, great event, and awesome to see Christine on the big screen. Charley, where can our listeners keep up to speed with you and everything that you do?
Everything I do. I mean, I try my hardest to keep my Instagram up to date, which is just Ginger Horror Girl. I'm kind of trying to aim that more at kind of a little bit movie review-esque. Obviously, I used to cover a bit more of a wider spectrum of things, but I'm trying to kind of like hone it in to be a bit more specialist, I guess. But yeah, just on there really. That's about it for me, really.
I'll put the link in the show notes, of course.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Well, thank you. Well, thanks for stepping in for Andy while he's off.
More than welcome.
Much appreciated. And thanks for listening, everybody. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to all of our current patrons. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review and head over to the Facebook group Horror Hangout Board of Advisors for more. We're also on Discord now. You can just search Horror Hangout Discord. Actually, I think you need the direct link. Get in touch with us anywhere on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, Horror Hangout Podcast, and we'll give you the Discord link. Join us there. Next week, we're covering another giallo film, Deep Red, with special guest Sarah of Horror. Looking forward to that. Thank you, Charley. And goodbye. Until next time, see you later. Bye. Say bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Horror Hangout.